Your high-yield savings account is a participation trophy. Let me ask you something honestly. When did a 4% return start feeling like winning? Because somewhere along the way, that became the goalpost. Move your money to a high-yield savings account, earn 4 or 5%, and feel good about yourself. Financial responsibility, unlocked. I get it. It's genuinely better than leaving money in a big bank earning 0. 4%. That math is obvious. But better than the worst option is a pretty low bar to call a strategy. Here's what I want to walk through today, not to make you feel bad about your HYSA, but to show you what it actually is, how it actually works, and whether it's actually the right place for your idle cash in 2025. Because for a lot of people, it isn't. What a high-yield savings account actually does. When you deposit money into a high-yield savings account, the bank takes that money and puts it to work. They lend it out, mortgages, auto loans, personal loans, credit cards, at rates that range from 7% to 21%. They buy short-term government bonds. They run it through a profit machine that has operated the same way for 100 years. Then they give you a slice. Right now, that slice is around 4 to 5%. That feels generous until you realize they're keeping the rest. The spread between what they earn on your money and what they pay you, that's their margin. And that margin has been near historic highs for the past 2 years, because interest rates went up fast and banks raised what they charged borrowers much faster than they raised what they paid depositors. You benefited. But they benefited more. None of that is secret. None of it is scandalous. That's just banking. The question is whether you need the bank in the middle at all. The tax thing nobody talks about. Here's where it starts to actually sting. Interest from a high-yield savings account is taxed as ordinary income. Federal taxes, state taxes, local taxes if your city has them. If you're in a 22% federal bracket and you live in a state with a 5% income tax, you're losing roughly 27 cents of every dollar you earn in interest before it hits your pocket. So that $900 you earned on $20,000 at 5%? After taxes, you're looking at closer to $650. That's still real money. But it changes the comparison significantly when you start looking at alternatives, particularly U.S. Treasury bills, because Treasury interest is exempt from state and local income taxes. That's not a loophole. It's written into federal law. The government doesn't tax itself at the state level when it borrows from you. Depending on where you live, that exemption is worth somewhere between 3% and 13% of your earnings. In California or New York, it's meaningful. In a state with no income tax, it's irrelevant. Know your situation. What you can actually do instead. The most direct alternative to a high-yield savings account for idle cash, money you don't need tomorrow but want accessible, is a short-term Treasury ETF. The most commonly discussed one is SGOV. It holds U.S. Treasury bills that mature in 90 days or less, pays out monthly distributions, and currently yields in the 5% to 4% range depending on when you're watching this. The expense ratio is 0.9% annually, about $18 a year on $20,000. You buy it through any brokerage account. Fidelity, Schwab, Robinhood, Webull, wherever you already have an account. It trades like a stock. The price stays right around $100 per share by design. When you want your money, you sell during market hours and it settles in 1 to 2 business days. You're not handing your money to a bank. You're lending it directly to the U.S. federal government. No middleman. No spread. The full yield minus a tiny fee. If you want zero fees and don't need quick access, lets you buy T-bills at auction directly from the government. You pick a term, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, up to 52 weeks, and when it matures, you get your principal back plus interest. No brokerage, no ETF, no annual fee. Slightly less flexible, but the purest version of the trade. A third option, Treasury-only money market funds offered through places like Fidelity or Vanguard. Daily liquidity, competitive yields, and if you specifically choose a government-only fund, you get the same state tax exemption. These are worth a look if you want something that feels closer to a savings account but with better tax treatment. The honest trade-offs. Here's where I want to be fair to the other side, because there are real reasons someone might prefer a HYSA and I don't want to pretend otherwise. FDIC insurance is real. If your bank fails, which is rare but has happened, the government covers up to $250,000 per depositor. Treasury bills are backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government, which is as close to risk-free as anything gets, but they don't carry FDIC insurance. In practice, U.S. Treasuries are considered safer than an FDIC-insured deposit because you're lending directly to the government rather than depending on the government to backstop a private institution. But if the FDIC label makes you feel better, that matters. Liquidity is the other real consideration. A high-yield savings account lets you transfer money to your checking account in a day, sometimes instantly. Treasury ETFs settle in 1 to 2 business days. T-bills at Treasury Direct lock your money until maturity. For genuine emergencies, a 1 to 2 day gap is usually fine, but think about your actual habits, not your idealized habits. And one more thing, if you're in a state with no income tax, Texas, Florida, Nevada, and a few others, the state tax exemption on treasuries is worth nothing to you. In that case, the comparison is almost purely about yield, and a high-yield savings account paying 4.5% will often outperform SGOV on an after-tax basis right now. Context matters. This isn't a universal prescription. Why most people don't make the switch? Here's the honest psychological piece. Moving money to a HYSA is easy. You open an account online, click a few buttons, and feel like you did something smart. The barrier is low. Buying a Treasury ETF requires a brokerage account. If you don't have one, you need to open one. If you've never bought anything in a brokerage, it feels unfamiliar. The interface looks like it's for investors, not savers. You see tickers and prices moving and assume it's riskier than a savings account, even though SGOV's price barely moves by design. That friction is real. But it's one-time friction. You set it up once, park your cash, and check it occasionally. After the first time, it's no harder than logging into your bank. The other thing, people don't optimize what they don't think about. Your savings account sits quietly in the background earning whatever it earns. It doesn't prompt you to reconsider. The bank has no incentive to tell you there's a better option. So most people just don't look. What this actually means for you. I'm not saying close your savings account and never look back. Keep your checking account. Keep a small buffer in savings if it helps you sleep at night. But your emergency fund, your down payment savings, your money sitting idle waiting to be deployed, that cash has a job to do while it waits, and a high-yield savings account is not always the most efficient place for it. Run your own numbers. Look at your state tax rate. Look at what you're currently earning after tax. Look at what SGOV or a Treasury money market fund would earn after tax. The difference might be small. Or it might be a few $100s a year that you're currently handing to your bank for no reason. The shift in thinking here isn't dramatic. It's just accurate. Your bank pays you to use your money. You can often cut them out entirely and earn more, or roughly the same, but taxed less, by lending that money directly to the government yourself. A high-yield savings account was a meaningful upgrade over doing nothing. But it was never the ceiling.